Good morning. It is 5 something a.m. and today is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. And so this week in the Queen Afua Rites of Passage program, we are in Gateway 3, which is Bass, sacred movement. And so this is going to be kind of like a two-part update. One part of the update is like how I'm doing in the gateway, and then the other part is actually a dream that I just had this morning that was interesting. I'm going to talk about the dream first because I just had it and I would like to remember as much of it as I can. So I had this dream, right? Which is normal. We have dreams when we sleep. In the dream, I was sleeping. Okay, so this is the dream, but in the dream I am sleeping. I'm in my bedroom, I'm sleeping, and I feel something like pulling me. And in the past, when I was younger, I would have these things that I think people call leg spasms or like muscle spasms, and you kind of feel like paralyzed. It can be quite terrifying if you don't know what is going on. And what I didn't realize at that time, because I just didn't know or have anybody in my life who was aware of these things and that could give me guidance, is sometimes, perhaps not every time, but sometimes those are different energies. In my case, spirit guides, things like that, just trying to make contact with you. But when you don't know what is going on, it's quite terrifying. And then, on top of that, it's at night and you're sleeping. It cannot be a great recipe. But anyway, so in the dream, this is happening to me. And so normally when I kind of forget what is happening, I get very scared. I get very afraid. Like, what is going on? This is not in my control. What is it? But in the dream, so at first I started to feel that way. I started to be really afraid. And then I remembered I was dreaming. And 2, I remembered what potentially was going on. So when I did that, I opened my eyes. This is in the dream. I didn't open my eyes in real life. And I just kind of was like, asking questions. Like, who is this? Who is tugging at me? Because it was like pulling me. It was like pulling me up and like trying to pull me, not like out of my bed, but kind of like through my bed. And so I'm just like, whoa, you're over here pulling me all this stuff. You haven't announced yourself. You haven't said who you are. You're trying to get me to go somewhere. And I think I asked a question along the lines of like, are you a good spirit? Like, what is this? What's going on? So then I feel like I did get some clarity on that this was, a trusted energy trying to get my attention to something. So I said, okay, fine. And even that is different for me because a lot of things, if I don't know them, I'm very hesitant to. But all of this year, I really have been on the journey of simply trusting myself and empowering myself and just saying like, nobody knows you better than you, Milan. Nobody knows your energy better than you. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. Like, you know what you're doing. You have been on this earth now for 38 years and you've made it this far. Trust yourself. If you're still down here on this earth, you're clearly doing something right. Trust yourself. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Again, I think a part of me is remembering it is a dream, and still, if I don't like what I see, I can open up my eyes. So I'm like, you know what? Let's be adventurous. Let's be a little bit curious. What does it want me to see, or where does it want me to go? So I let it pull me. It's pulling my hand. It's pulling my hand almost like a kid that's like, come on, we've got somewhere to go. So it pulls my hand and it kind of pulls me like up and then into my bed, and so like up into the bed, right? Yes, I go into the bed, and then I kind of go like underneath it as I'm going into the bed. So I'm thinking like the underworld, subconscious is what comes to mind. So I go underneath the bed, and it's like this whole different world. So it also could be like a parallel universe. It could be a lot of different things. And so I'm down there, and of course, now that I'm talking about this, I'm like forgetting things. Oh, got it back. So at one point, I'm walking somewhere, and I'm walking with an ex love of mine. And I'm just like, okay, this is interesting, but all right. And he's carrying this, he's pulling like one of those truck tires. You know how sometimes when people work out, they have to flip over those truck tires? He's pulling it. So it's like the truck tire, and there's, like rope attached to it, and he has to pull it. And so we're not really talking, we're walking. So he has to pull it. It's not me pulling it. I'm just kind of walking alongside of him. And then at one point, I decide that I'm tired of walking, and I get in the truck tire like a kid would, to go for a ride. Someone's pulling something, I'm going to get on it and bum a ride. And so he's pulling it and all those things. And then we get to the part where there's like a truck or something. And so he continues to pull the tire, and I have to like duck down so that me and the tire can go underneath the truck as he's pulling it. And so we get from underneath the truck, and I think it's really then that he realizes I'm not walking next to him anymore, that I'm on this tire. And he gets frustrated, and I think he like stops pulling it or something. And it was interesting. I will have to think about that part some more, because this young man that I was with, he just wasn't a very happy person and could be very temperamental. And it was like 1 minute he could be happy, and then boom, the next minute explosive, like not very happy. So it was interesting because it was almost like in some ways I would walk on eggshells, because I never knew if something I said would make him upset, and then it would be an argument. And depending on how much energy I did or didn't have in the day, I just wouldn't be up for an argument. So sometimes I found myself making myself smaller to keep the peace, because some days I just didn't have the energy to argue or to say something that I felt was neutral and it be blown out of proportion. So this was interesting in the dream, because he was getting upset and frustrated, and usually like when we were together, that would be the time that I would be a little bit anxious, because I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a fight. Because this person was also good about, if they were really upset, about giving me the silent treatment. And that is like a form of like mental and emotional manipulation. So, but in the dream, I was just like, he can be upset. Like, I really don't care. I didn't do anything wrong. I got tired. He was pulling that tire anyway. And so I bummed a ride. And it was interesting. So I have to think about that part more. And there's also another part, but it's kind of hazy right now. So that's kind of the part that I remember. There were some other things, but I think that part was kind of pivotal, because he played a pivotal part in the season of my life that I was in when he and I were together. I went through a lot, but I grew so much as a person. I grew so much. Maybe I'll do another video about that. So yeah, that was an interesting dream, but I think that dream overall represented me trusting myself and trusting the universe more, and being less afraid and just asking questions. It's kind of like the reminder that if something makes you afraid, like, be curious about it instead of just being afraid, because a lot of times when we're afraid, we don't have a lot of information. So if you're afraid of something, research it, ask questions, just get a little curious. You may not always overcome certain things, but at least if you have more understanding, you can meet it different ways, right? And it may not be so much as fearful. And so that was, I think, kind of the one thing, because really, like, normally something like that would terrify me, you know, and I would like wake up terrified, like, oh my gosh, something tried to pull me somewhere. I didn't know where it was going. So, you know, I was proud of myself in that dream. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I'm remembering what is going on, but I need some information before you start pulling me places. Like, you got to tell me a little bit of something. You don't got to tell me everything, but I need some details. I don't know who you are. You haven't announced yourself. You haven't shared who you are. And so I liked that. It was a reminder for me to ask questions. If there's something I don't understand or I'm afraid of, don't run from it. Try to be curious about it, because fear is really not real. It just feels real if we give it the power. So, but it's a daily practice to remember that, right? It's a daily practice to not want to run and run and hide. It's a daily practice to say, whoa, let me take a deep breath. I trust myself in any situation. If it is a situation where I need to run, I will. But I trust myself also to ask myself, is this a real threat, or is this, you know, my ego telling me that it's something fearful? And let's take a look at it and dissect it just for a minute. We don't have to know all the secrets of the world, but to help ourselves get an understanding and not be in fear, and to make a more productive decision that supports us. Let's just ask a couple questions, and then we can go from there. So I'm proud of myself in that dream. I am proud of myself, and I wish I could remember more, but I guess I remembered what I was meant to remember. So yeah, the other part with the past love, I have to dissect a little bit more. Oh wait, I'm remembering another part. I was in a house. So he got tired of pulling me, and then he stopped, and finally I was like, fine. You know, obviously he's not moving anymore. I'm not getting a ride, so I get out of the tire. And we walk a short distance to a house, and we go inside this house, and it's kind of set up like how like row houses or townhouses are set up, so kind of narrow, and it has, you know, multiple floors. So we go in on the main floor, which is really like the second floor, and he like disappears. Like, as soon as we get in the house, I don't see him anymore. And then I walk in, and there's like a living room area, and a TV is on. So there's a person there, but I don't know this person, and we're not really engaging. And I am looking for a bathroom because I have to go to the bathroom. So I see one bathroom, but it looks like nobody has like used it in forever, and kind of used it as a storage space. Also, where the toilet is, it's like by the door, and the door was like not on the hinge. So it's just wide open. So if you had to pee, you're just peeing in the open. So I'm like, dang, nobody has used this bathroom in a while. And so I remember like at first moving stuff so that I could use this restroom, and then realizing after I did all of that, the bathroom has no door, and where the toilet is situated is where the doorway is. And so, you know, unless I'm just going to drop trout in front of everybody, I either need to find another bathroom or just say what the hell and pee. That's all I remember now. That's interesting part 2. So that's the dream. So this is 13 minutes. I'm trying to decide if I want to talk about the gateway in this or do like a part 2. I think I'm going to do a part 2 because this is getting long, but I hope that dream was interesting. It may only be interesting to me because it's my dream, but wanted to share that because of what initially I think that it signifies for me, what it represents for me. So I will do a part 2 that is an update on this gateway, how I'm feeling, what's been showing up for me, and all those things.